Alright. Welcome everyone, or our one listener, to episode 1, or episode 0 I would call it, of Inflow. The podcast where I try to use flow as a compass to guide myself through interesting conversation, finding interesting topics, and interesting people to talk to. Because I feel blessed that I have many interesting people in my life, and I've noticed that I reach flow a lot when talking with interesting people. So that's what I'll be doing in this podcast. And well, with those words, thank you, Peik, for helping me out setting this all up. I think we have been together all day already talking, so this is kind of a continuation, I'd say. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
Yes, go ahead.
It's been mostly just, what do you call it when everything goes wrong? Problem solving.
Problem solving all day. And then finishing with it nicely. I'd say that's a good feeling.
Yeah, that's true. We just had a problem with the recording devices.
Yeah, as you usually do. Shout out to Aalto University for lending out these awesome technologies, the camera, the mics, everything. It worked out very well in the end. But hey, what did you have for breakfast today, Peik?
What did I eat? It's hard to remember. It's always... I'm usually so tired in the morning, but I guess I ate some bread and tea.
Bread and tea?
Yeah, bread with the makkara.
Sounds like a healthy breakfast to me. And tea also, not too much potkut.
No,
just
you know the dark
right
reissumies, which is a bit sweet.
Yeah.
That's the easiest one to eat in the morning, I think.
I wouldn't say easiest, but I would say it's at least the most nutritious. It keeps you filled.
Yeah, maybe.
Nice.
It's really good if you put some like apricot or some kind of marmalade on it too. It works really nicely with blue cheese, but that's a bit rough in the morning, I guess.
Fancy, man, really fancy. I wanted to start off with a question like that because I read somewhere. It was the book called How to Have a Good Day by some McKinsey executive, whatever, wrote it. And she described in the book that we are, as humans, we're on an axis of, exploration or defense. Either you're afraid or you're on the defense, or you're open to new ideas like exploring. So with an innocent question like, what did you have for breakfast? I hope to get more to the exploration side and more to the innocent, fun side of, and not like being very strict about things. If
it was
you were
a good
wondering.
idea.
Yeah, I thought so too when I read the book, but I can recommend that one to anyone interesting. How to Have a Good Day. I can't recall her name though.
I think we have to look it up.
People can look it up.
Okay.
Since this podcast is about flow, I thought it would make sense to at least in this episode 0, which is kind of a prototype. I would call this a prototype episode, to talk about flow, what it is, and for those of what I think it is, and what kind of the official definition of flow is. So
actually I have no idea, so it would be good to go through it.
Then we'll get some
I just heard and used it. It sounds smart, but
it's pretty like a new phenomenon. I think it was coined in 1980 something, but it's like positive psychology has become much larger as a phenomena the last maybe 15 years. And there's this guy who's written books about flow and whatnot, lots of information, but the brief official statement about flow is this: in positive psychology, a flow state, also known as being in the zone, is a mental state of operation in which a person performing an activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized, focused, full involvement and enjoyment in the process of the activity. In essence, flow is characterized by the complete absorption in what one does and the resulting loss in one's sense of space and time.
So it doesn't sound bad.
It sounds pretty good, doesn't it? And I think most of us have flow in our lives. Sometimes we just fail to recognize it, or we just attribute it to having fun. But as it said, it's like it's when you focus on one thing, it's when you maybe challenge yourself a little, and you're really in the moment, so to speak. You're really not anywhere else. That allows you to be at your peak performance and enjoy. Also, it's like all the great hormones and you know, you get a spike of adrenaline and dopamine and all these nice feelings hit your brain. There's also that aspect of things. It's just a great rush. It's people get flow when they're surfing or they're playing a game really well. There's this kind of aspect that you need immediate feedback in order to get in flow. That you know that you're on the right or the wrong path. You get instantly feedback, and in the context of this in flow podcast, I'm hoping to reach that state as much as possible, and I hope by reaching that state with as many people as possible, we can talk about some interesting stuff. And if not, hey, cheers! At least we reach flow. Cheers. Sometimes. that's like the goal.
It sounds a lot like, I guess, Arnold Schwarzenegger, however you pronounce it, talked about like pump when you're training and your muscle is really like it's just tight all the time and you get like the most out of it. It's like a mental version of that.
Yeah, he kind of described it as an orgasm here. It's like orgasming in every muscle of your body. It's amazing feeling. Yeah.
Have you seen Pumping Iron?
Yeah, I've seen the film, and then Arnold. He was probably in flow because he had like really fully engaged in his powerlifting. He got immediate feedback. Can you do it? Can you not? Yeah, it's probably a flow activity. And it's so fascinating because you can reach it. It varies from person to person. Someone might get it from painting. They can be in flow. Like someone get it from. I get it personally from computer gaming or from talking, or playing racket sports. Also sometimes get me in a nice state of flow. Did this open your mind, Peik, about flow? Would you say you now know what flow potentially is?
Maybe a bit. I guess experiencing it will help.
That would be my like follow-up. Do you feel you have flow somewhere in your life right now?
Right now, maybe not. It's not. It comes and goes in different. Epoch is not the right word, but I think that in different months, different times of the year, you have different states. Mm-hmm. So now it's like a building state. After the summer, you're trying to like find yourself in your arki.
Your everyday life.
Yeah, your everyday life and school and everything. So this is not a time of the year when I really usually have flow, or if we would think of. It's more of like doing chores and stuff like that.
Hopefully you could get the chores to be interesting ones, but I agree. In Finnish society, we have like the summer. Everyone's has just a long party during the summer, and then towards autumn or fall, winter, people just go back to their families, back to their homes, and arki. They have their everyday lives, kind of coordinate life, which is. I don't know why that is like seen as boring. That's like your life, man. It's the most important aspect, well, of anything. Just your everyday life. It's like this is it. But
it depends on where you live, in your mind or in your everyday life.
Indeed, it depends on where you are. I realize now maybe we could start with some quick introductions, because that would be curious for people who don't know us. Peik, I've known you for, well, 8-9 years at least. We met in high school sometime, and you're my only friend actually who's gone into the taken the artistic path in life. Every other friend I have has either become like studying finance, economics, or technology at Aalto, or law. Everyone has these like very fancy, straight A students.
Square stuff.
So Peik, tell us who are you, and how did you get to be who you are today?
Well, it might be the sum of actually not having it's not something you choose. You kind of just do, and then you're there. It's like if you start to paint or do some kind of artistic stuff, it's usually because you like to do it, and then you like it so much that you don't have much else going on, and then that's all you have really to talk about. So then everybody sees you in that light, and then you're kind of you just have to do it.
When did you start on this path? Can you
With
remember?
art.
Yeah, with art. When did you? Because you were, after all, one of the better gymnasia, one of the better high schools in Finland. You had good grades in school.
Yeah.
But when did you realize that you didn't want to pursue that? You wanted to pursue something else, like music or art, or... Can you recall?
I don't know. I think it's the idea of these things is always a bit different than what it really is. So when I thought of like economics or something, you had this nice idea of it and what you could do with it and the person you could become with it. But then when you actually go to the school and watch how it looks and the people who've been there and what they do and who they are and what they actually do in their workplace, then the reality changes you and what you want to do. So
and when did you realize this?
It's been a slow process, just
slow process.
One thing after another. No, I can't go there. No, I can't go there. No, I can't do that to myself. I will hate myself if I do that.
Well, it seems like an honest process.
Yeah, but it's maybe not the smart one. you have to sacrifice, but maybe this is the right sacrifice.
Maybe. So tell us, what are you doing right now? Apart from you being the first person I called when I wanted to set up this audio and video, what are you studying at the moment? What's going on in Peik's everyday life?
Well, I'm studying media, so I'm doing all kinds of different media, like production stuff in school. But I think the intensity that you can get from school is really, really low. Like it's done for like the mass of people that they could learn. Well, what could everybody learn that we could get into this school? But if you actually want to do something like not artistic, but something in this sort of a thing, you have to work like 90% outside of school. So even though I'm studying it, I wouldn't really say that that's what I'm doing. So in my own time, I'm doing 3D modeling stuff and
it's very
photography.
Awesome. I like it. And what?
Photography.
And photography, yeah.
And painting and like not graphic design, but like there's painting from relationships. So you don't paint a square with like a 3-dimensional square, but a cube and then something else, so it becomes like a head, but you paint the relationships you see, so you put different angles and different points. And then there's also the constructive drawing, so there are two different things. That's one part of like painting. And then there's the 3-dimensional computer thing, which is kind of more the constructive side. And then there's some computer programs which go into the relative thing. And then like managing these two and finding a balance is maybe the path of finding a voice.
I really believe you have something quite original going on, as you have the standard say, way of painting, you're pretty good at, or you're actually a really good oil painter, I'd say, the ones I've seen, and drawing by hand. And whilst doing that, you also have the 3D modeling graphics by computer, which is like contemporary art, if you will, and 3D printing.
Yeah.
Like the combination of those both are very, very cool.
Yeah, but that's like, I think the fruits of what you get from doing all of this stuff doesn't come in like 5 years. It's maybe 20 years or 15. So it will take a long time. Like the courses I did maybe 2 years ago, first now I kind of reap the benefits of it.
I see.
It's been like a long process, and it's not so nice always. But it's fun to know that you could do something like that.
You're a nuori mestari. Young master. You don't have had the time simply to become a master at the craft yet. But you're on the road from like apprenticeship.
Yeah, I think an artist called Android Jones said it really well, that all artists have always like been at the peak of the technology they've been using. So this is just what he said, Android Jones. So today, when we live in a, would you call it a postmodern world, where you don't have one thing, you have many approaches, and you can do pretty much anything. And you can go into like abstract art, and then there's like an infinite possibility of different roads.
Definitely.
So then if you're actually going to be at the peak of your like the technology you're using, you kind of can't use just one. You have to use all of them and understand all of them.
That sounds counterintuitive. Wouldn't you go to the peak of the one technology by focusing on one technology? Why would you reach a peak by having all the technologies? Does it give you like a bigger frame of reference, more? I suppose like you have a broader understanding of what tools you have available, but you become better at one tool if you only focus on one tool. This is how it sounds to me. I'm not sure if I understood it correctly.
It's a tough question, but I guess if you can see like if something's already been done in clay, then doing it in 3D printing is kind of like, it's cool that you can do it, but there's really no new value in it. It's just like doing, what do you call it, like realistic drawing, where it looks exactly like a photo.
Yeah,
it's really cool, but like
there's no use.
Yeah, it's like somebody doing something really specific just for themselves, that solves a thing for themselves, but it doesn't really like pour over into other people.
I think you hit a nice subject when you said like, this has been my intuition as well, that you do what motivates you. When you talk about what you do in school, yeah, you learn maybe 10%, but 90% you learn by yourself, by doing the things that you are actually interested in. And this has been my, as I said, intuition also, that the motivation that is intrinsic, like motivation that comes from within, is so much stronger than the motivation that is comes from outside, or learning that comes from within. When you actually want to go in and explore and find out something, you're in flow more, I think. Whereas if you go to school and somebody else tells you should learn this, even though you maybe pick the program or even the course, it's not the same as when you're by yourself exploring and learning.
Yeah, luckily. Because then if you really enjoy it in your own time, there's a bigger chance of you actually liking what you do. Like than if you can only do it in school. If you can actually do it in your own time, and then also the competition isn't that high. Because if it's easy to go to a school or easy to go to a good university or something like this, but then actually crafting it into something which you have to do is just a different thing. And society still needs people who can work all the like specific, like doing this thing and this thing. So it's
as I said, I admire you, Peik, for choosing a original way. It's much easier to just cop out and go to one of the big universities and kind of do what has been suggested by, well, not society, maybe more from your family. There's always pressure to do something that's worthwhile. You should learn something that's useful, and then you can do whatever you want. But you decided quite early on that, hey, this is not for me. I'm going to do what I want from an early stage.
Yeah, but to be once again press the point that I didn't have a choice, so I didn't choose it. It just was there. But
but you did it.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say anything against schools like big schools. They're
No,
really
not
good.
Not at all.
But then, like the process of searching there, and then I got into the school, so now I'm there. That's not really true. So, like, I would really much like to get into a good school right now, but it doesn't seem to be an option, which might be good, because if you have to craft it yourself, everything, then it's maybe that's the way. I don't know.
I'm not bashing. I think education is amazing and universities are amazing. What I'm saying is, like, you should be there for your own sake, your own motivations. And so many, I believe, go without thinking it through. Like the meta layers, like, why am I actually here? To learn. But why do I want to learn? Well, to get a job. Why do I want to get this job? It's more about, like, what do I enjoy doing? What gives me joy? What gives me flow? And that then build upon that to find maybe what I want to study and what I want to work on.
Yeah.
That was kind of the thing I wanted to say. But I also forgot to present myself.
We didn't get there yet.
Yeah, one thing at a time. This Peik here is my first guest ever, episode 0. I'm Maximilian, and I am a student in one of those big universities, at Aalto University. Shout out to Aalto University. I think it's a great place right now to study. It's a combination of business, engineering, and arts. So it's a very beautiful mix of people right now. It's kind of a hub of action and happening. It is in the air, in the vibe when I walk at the campus. I'm really excited to be part of that university right now. Currently, I'm doing my master's studies at a program called Information Networks, which means I try to understand the intersection between technology and human beings. Kind of, we have a lot of people, as you said, as we talked about, like, they are very good in specific technologies or specific areas, like spear points. Especially when you study a master's, you go into electrical nanoengineering and you become great at that, or you're a programmer and become great at doing machine learning algorithms. And then you have someone who's great at accounting and they really know how to do, I don't know, business models. And then you have someone who's a great leader who knows how to build an organization. But all these people, they have difficulties talking among each other because they don't speak like similar languages. So the idea behind my program is that you get a little bit of each. A little bit of programming, a little bit of management, a little bit of human psychology, and try to build bridges in between these kind of spearheads of deep knowledge in the workplace right now. And I've been digging it so far.
It sounds good. Sounds like I think if you would just do one thing from knowing you, I think you would get kind of they call it like doing too much of the same thing.
Yeah, that's the reason I went there in the first place. I as you, I didn't know what I want to do. I looked at many things. I was sure I didn't want to do those. And this program was like one option where I could keep doors open. Keep trying many different things. So that's why I went there.
How was it when you said that now you feel like it's your place when you go there and walk? Has it like grown with the years, or is there something specific that brought it?
For sure. I think the first couple of years of university, I didn't realize why I was there. I had just like been floating through middle school, high school, gymnasia, upper high school, and had such an easy time in school. Even like getting into Aalto was not difficult. And I just woke up and realized, what am I doing here? And I kind of continued drifting. I didn't feel like I belonged there. It was just kind of depressing, actually. I was just taking courses, not thinking it through, like, why am I taking these courses? My motivation was very low. Then maybe sometime last year, when I finished my bachelor studies, I started thinking more like, why am I doing this? And started, actually, I got a broader range of courses to pick from also in the master's stage. So I could really like rethink, and I said to myself that I'm only gonna study things that I find interesting. It all comes back to this like flow. I'm following my interests, my whatever gives me flow, makes me operate at a better level. And when I started taking things more seriously, I started enjoying the courses more. I started feeling more at home. I collaborated better with different people in studies, and I feel like I'm more at home at Aalto because of that. So kind of take school seriously, kids. You should think through what do I want, because it's like the most basic and more important question.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear that you're kind of also having this, like, what would you call, like, shotgun approach, that you don't do just one thing, you do it all and then try to find something. At least in my school they told us that when people who started to study the first year, when they came out, they asked the teacher that, why didn't you teach us how to use these programs or this stuff?
Yeah.
And it just didn't exist when they started. So I think in the future, I don't know, but I think that if you, well, depending on what you're doing, but like maybe for our type of a personality, it's quite good to do the broad range, because you have to be ready for anything. And actually,
agreed. And today's society, I think, is changing very rapidly, and it seems like it's accelerating this change, the pace of change. So we can know what's up tomorrow. Will we even be using the same programming languages? I think what people talk about is like the 4 C's. I'll go answer the door.
Yeah, maybe the node-based programming.
Welcome back to
Yes.
episode 0, the celebration of potentially a podcast of many episodes. We're starting with 1 or 0, however you take it, and let's see how it goes from there. I would like to explore this podcast platform a bit more, like what are my current thoughts, where it could lead, and some things I'd like to emphasize. First of all, I've had the privilege of meeting some excellent friends over the years that I respect, that are highly, I'd say, intelligent, and that have very good stuff to say that I think deserves to be memorialized in one way or another. So first of all, I'd like to discuss with my friends, and I'm gonna get my friends. And as me and Peik here is first of one of my many friends, Peik is a great one. I have many more. I like to get them on and talk. And then potentially, if that goes well, if I feel like this is something I'm enjoying doing, because that's maybe most important, that I'm actually reaching flow and reaching this fun state of flow by doing this podcast, then I could see myself expanding it to potential. There are some professors at Aalto. Yeah, well, basically anyone who has something interesting to say could be a guest. What do you think, Peik? What do you think about this battle plan?
Well, I know that when we put up the stuff, the microphones and stuff, I brought my own recorder with me, which is portable. So you could take it, like you wouldn't have to be in one place. You could like move or be on a bus, or I know a bus is not a good place to have a podcast, but you could do it anywhere. And that's really cool. Like if we contrast radio to podcasts, the same as like the digital video camera to an analog film camera, that you can actually move it and keep it in your hand.
Fair.
Like a film camera you could never like portably run with or something, but you could take it to weird places and do all kinds of stuff.
That's a pretty cool idea, actually. With just sufficient good microphones and portable technology, I could go and talk with people. Right now we're sitting in my, small apartment in Jätkäsaari, which is kind of comfy, I think. I like it. But maybe it would be easier to get strangers or people who are busy if I can say, hey, I'll come to you and we'll talk at your place, for example. Yeah, sure.
What do you think is, like, if you want to reach the flow state, what's a good place to do it? Is it like, does it always have to do something with what you're doing? Like if you're at home having a podcast, you're really chilled out because you're relaxing at home. Like what do you think is the relationship with place and flow? And
I think the setting is important. Like there should not be distractions, none at all. It should be about this moment, this discussion. So as long as there are no extra distractions, I don't think the place is that important. Like it can be here, it can be in some other room. As long as it's sort of isolated in a way that's also not a chaotic room. I think it has to be sort of feng shui, so sort of like that you can be like you can be without thinking about being in the room. You can focus on what's at hand, like the mental game, the discussion. That's the answer to the question.
Yeah, and you need a good supply of coffee and maybe other stuff too.
That's I like to mention. Like this is the first episode, so we're celebrating and we're drinking a bit, but mostly I'm hoping that I myself I'll be fueled by caffeine, and my guests, hey, you can do whatever you want, whatever makes your, what's the expression? Whatever makes your
boat float.
Boat float. Exactly. Yeah. Whatever makes your boat float, or whatever makes your wheel go around.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
That's how you say it.
Close enough. So, but today is a celebration because I'm glad we got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And additionally, in relation to this podcast, since this is the first episode, I would really appreciate it if I could get like feedback from anyone listening. Like you right there, that one person. Is it my mom or my friend? Who the fuck ever? I don't know. Give me feedback and topics that you'd like to see discussed. Because I really believe in this concept of prototyping and doing. This is like we put this up in a day. We didn't plan any advance. We try it out really quickly, not much invested, and then we can come back and make it better by putting it out there. So this is the first prototype 0. I hope we get some feedback and more like suggestions. I really do, and that will make this better in the long run. Because I hope I can do it in the long run. So yeah, comments down below, or how you say. We'll post it on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube and some other podcast places. I haven't researched that much actually, where people go for podcasts.
I think iTunes is quite used, and Spotify is quite good too. And I don't know if you can get money from Spotify, like what you call monetize.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's why people use it, or if it's good in other ways.
That's another quick aspect. Like, I'm not looking to monetize this at all.
No.
So probably no advertisements. Only advertisements of things I enjoy. So if, for example, Peik here, do you have like a gallery or a platform for your current art?
No, not right now.
Do you have an Instagram account people can follow?
Yes, but that's more of like a No, actually my Instagram, I could tell you about this. It's been a project that's slowly been like, first it was just a place to, like I needed to put something somewhere, it's like some pictures. But then slowly, like I had a camera which was not that good. Like it's an old telephone which I got from my grandmother used to use it, and then she didn't need it and blah blah blah, and I got it, and it was quite good at the time, but it was too difficult for her, so I started to use that and took photos which were in quality not that good. But I thought that if the camera is not good, you have to put something that's like how do you say, like even if you're watching a movie and it's not a good quality, the picture, still the story is interesting enough that you want to follow it. I wanted to reach that, but within my Instagram account. So right now I'm calling myself, in Swedish it's called visuell snickare. So it's like a visual, what do you call it? Like a carpenter.
Yeah, carpenter, wood carpenter.
Yeah, but a visual carpenter right now.
Yeah.
So the ideas of being...
Is this a new thing? Is there such a thing?
I never heard about it.
So you might be the first one. Excellent. I love it already.
Yeah, because there's always like calling yourself a graphic designer or being a designer. It sounds like you're just marketing yourself, which this is of course in a way too, but it doesn't have the depth of what you're actually doing. Because being a designer doesn't mean that you put like a couple of forms next to each other and that makes you a designer. So it's a new thing I'm trying to work out.
You're trying to do something different. Fair enough. Yeah. And in relation to the point of ads, where can people find this carpentry of yours?
My Instagram account is Peak and then Palmgren. So it's Peak, like in Peak Performance, but
yeah, Peak.
And then Palmgren in the end.
The mountain peak. Peak Palmgren. All right. So that's kind of, I would only like to advertise for stuff that I know personally and that I do it for because it's good stuff. I think you have potential.
Yeah, it's something that today it's quite common to advertise stuff in using podcasts for that. So that could also be a good thing to discuss. Like, is it a good idea to like... Because some podcasts you can really feel that they're just made for that purpose. Like they're trying to launch some kind of product and they're building like a community for that, which is quite a good thing. But yeah, I don't know what kind of podcasts have you liked to listen to?
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask you the same thing. My podcast listening has been quite like I like scientific ones. Radio Lab was one. There were like two guys from New York. And they actually did this, like they traveled around the States and did this like in-depth looks into different topics. And every episode was a different topic, like sound or music or millionaires or whatever. And they did like a lot of research for it, and they went out and interviewed different people for each episode, and it was edited like really well. It was kind of artistic in a way. Like it wasn't really a podcast. It was more so like a show maybe, but still. I also enjoy listening to Joe Rogan. He's been good. Sam Harris has some good stuff. Well, you know, this basic young white adult podcasts like Sam Harris and Joe Rogan. They have been dominating my podcast listening. Audiobooks a little bit. I like Sherlock Holmes. I listen to them all now. What about you? I'm always on the lookout for new podcasts that are interesting, because I get this flow experience from listening to interesting stuff. So when it's really reaches a point of excellence, you can get it by just spectating, listening. So I'm always kind of on for good stuff. So to add on maybe to my list, I would say Tim Ferriss has some good stuff, and well, Tim Ferriss, especially if you rank them by like top listened episodes, you rank the best ones, the best of the best. those are usually like the diamonds. Because not every episode can be good, but some are really, really good. So yeah, that would be. I had some other on my mind, but it'll come to me. I'll tell you when it does. What about you? You have any suggestions?
Well, my favorites have been, what would you say? Well, the first ones, which really got me, was Terence McKenna's long-form talks.
Yeah, it's too bad that he died, like before the podcasting became a thing.
Yeah, he kind of was the one who really, like, there's nobody who has spoken that way before him. Yeah, it's language hasn't been used like that. It's like H.R. Geiger or somebody. They just go to some place which hasn't been. I don't know. There's something really special about him. But he has a really good one on language. I don't remember what the name was, but maybe it's a compilation that's just called something.
He did more like monologues, or like Terence McKenna. He had a kind of a lecture.
Yeah.
But you mean he spoke differently, more differently than podcasts are, like a long discussion, which in itself is already very different compared to everything we see today in like social media, politics, anything. Our like attention span is so short that we don't like want to listen to something long, so we lack depth. But this podcast form or long discussion form is very different from what we see get otherwise. But McKenna, he even had this next level way of talking. He was a special person. I agree.
Yeah, it's like if you look at paintings from, what would you say, like anybody, Rembrandt or Caravaggio or these, they're really nice and they're deep and they have all of that nice stuff. But then when you look at like Monet, you see that it's like they didn't see. There was something they didn't see. Like they were they're deep, but they were still just so flat compared to that. Like he was able to do something that just nobody. That's, how would you say, self-evident, but still nobody has ever really reached yet. And I think what many people get wrong with Terence McKenna is that they think that what he's trying to say is just like the truth. Because I think he himself said that it's not the thing that's the realest that wins. Maybe not realest. And I'm probably, this is not what he would have not have thought the same that I'm trying to say now, but still what he's trying to say is an interesting view to view the world and an interesting reality. And the most fun reality is the one that wins. So he's not trying to be correct all the time. Of course he would. It's a difficult discussion, but what he's doing is he's using using stories to paint a picture, you could say, of reality that just is for half a second is in your mind is true, and then later on when you analyze it, it's not there. Like good painting, if you look at it close, it's not there. But when you stand
performance,
and when you stand back and you look at the whole, you kind of have, for a split second, you can actually see something real. That's not just describing reality, but it is reality in your head. And I think he could do that with language, which few people that have been recorded has done before that. Probably Nietzsche or somebody could have done it, but they didn't record themselves.
Interesting way to put it. The most fun reality is the one that wins. Because it's quite arguably true that the subjective reality is the only reality that matters.
It's the woman in the red dress walking by from Matrix, if you remember.
But the only thing that matters is how you experience reality. And if that's fantasy land, so be it. If it's more fun than normal reality.
I don't know. Right. Can you get out from fantasy land? I don't know. Let's go back to the good podcast. We can go back
I was just going to say that McKenna is like a whole separate discussion. He had so many good, interesting stuff. Much interesting stuff. But podcast,
then
let's hit me with the list.
Well, Joe Rogan, of course. He's he's just been doing it honestly.
There's so many good guys that have visited Joe Rogan's podcast.
And he just keeps doing it, and he's doing it like he's doing working out or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just doing it so much that even though you would, like, he does it so much that he naturally just gets really interesting sometimes. But what other? There's Tested, the guy who made Mythbusters, not the one with the mustache, but the other guy,
Adam Savage. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he has a nice podcast, or it's a show about making movie things, stuff like that.
Cool.
And what else is there?
Have you listened to The Portal by Eric? I forget his last name, but the mathematician from. He's a friend of Jordan Peterson. Blah blah blah. It's quite a new. The Portal. It's called.
Yeah,
Maybe
he made
7 or 8 episodes. Yeah, Eric, our friend Eric, has recommended it. It's very very interesting stuff.
Yeah, I guess the intellectual dark web was his idea.
Exactly that guy.
Yeah, I tried to listen to 1 or 2, but never really got into it.
It's like reading. This is now a different topic, but like listening to podcasts, it's like for me like reading books. I never read one book at a time, and I read it from start to finish, 100%. I like to swap. If one part of a book isn't that interesting, it doesn't make sense, I skip through it, or I go to read another book that at that moment is interesting to me and gives me more, flow. So I kind of follow whatever is interesting at the moment, because that will be more efficient to do at that moment. So the same way with like the Portal podcast. I haven't listened to every episode like it's religion, but I've kind of listened to a little bit, and I've noticed, okay, this isn't good stuff, and I skip it, because hey, who wants to waste their time?
Yeah.
So on that note of wasting time on podcast, I have this interesting prospect for this inflow that of a flow meter, like somewhere here on the screen. Like say you have this video of us uploaded on YouTube, and afterwards I edit in a flow meter, and I kind of can assess like how well were we, or I can only say about myself, but how well what was the flow like at that moment in the discussion. And I can make the flow meter rise and fall during the video. So people, when they're checking the podcast, you can kind of scroll through and check when was the flow like the highest, and listen to those parts, because those are, at least that's my theory, the most interesting ones, because that's when you're on point and you're talking about something that interests us at least, and hopefully that's something that interests other people as well.
Yeah, we can't have too obscure references, because then nobody will understand what we're like. Terence McKenna. who else then are like? There's a lot of people who like it, but it's not a lot of people.
I think it's fine to have obscure references as long as you explain them.
Yeah.
Each
okay.
one.
Yeah. True.
So Terence McKenna was this guy in. Maybe he was most relevant in the 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And he took a lot of psychedelics like mushrooms, LSD and stuff like this. And he got really, really on point with like in a dark room by himself, 5 grams of psychedelic mushrooms. And he really explored his own psyche, kind of the front figure of psychonauts, those who like to explore consciousness via these mind-altering drugs. And he was very intelligent too, I think, kind of enlightened in a way. He said some very lucid things about life and thinking and how we talk. He was also aware of how speech kind of controls our thoughts, because we can only describe things by words. But anyway, that's like a brief introduction of McKenna.
Yeah.
He was a beautiful man.
Yeah, I remember he described Carl Jung at one stage as as like an, what do you call it, like an archaeologist, what do you call it? Archaeologue.
Oh yeah, someone who does archaeology.
Yeah, but he goes, instead of doing like old ruined cities, he goes into idea systems and old ideas.
Yeah.
And he like brings life, or like he looks at them like old ideas that haven't really, they died with some old civilization or something, and they didn't really, we don't have them anymore, and they're not in our consciousness anymore, like actively. And he kind of tried to bring them up and like clean them and see what was the gist of it. And McKenna did the same thing. Yeah. And that's, I think, where a lot of his stuff comes from. He uses these different ideas and then he kind of folds them on top of each other. And then it sounds like it's something completely new that he's saying, but actually it's like a really well-written speech.
Yeah, for sure. He prepared those speeches. But yeah, there are like Jung and as you said, maybe McKenna did. They found these old myths, old wisdoms that were forgotten, and that had been honed over like thousands of years. We have these traditions to do, or stories to say, and why? It's an interesting subject. Like, why did these specific stories stay with that civilization? Why did you have a story about this specific wanderer who gets robbed by the road? Probably because there's a lesson there that's important to be learned. Or like, why are different sayings in rhyme? Well, why are some like wisdoms stuff that rhyme? Because they are important enough that you want some gist so people remember them. You want to build a story around them so people remember them. Or a rhyme so people remember them. And yeah, they've been forgotten, and Jung, yeah, he did some research into that. But also this Paul Campbell. Are you familiar with Paul Campbell?
No.
He was a big fan of Jung, and he was like a...
Oh wait, yeah.
Campbell, yeah. He like his title. He called himself a history of mythology kind of researcher.
Didn't he do the discussions about Jung in YouTube?
Yeah,
he has some. I've listened to them.
He did the discussions, but they are his own discussions. I'm sure he based a lot of it on Jung's ideas, but they are his own. And because he traveled to South America and to Indonesia and like visited these ancient cultures and observed, and also read ancient texts and whatnot. And from what the things I've seen, that there are some golden lessons there to be learned. I like to say some example now for what good stuff has come from there.
From old times?
Yeah, from old times. Well, there's this the story of kind of the hero that is often comes up in many cultures. This is now I'm remembering from the top of my head, but like the hero is someone who opens their eyes, sees the world, and goes out of what the ordinary, goes out and does something different, and comes back, like changes, brings forth some sort of change. I'm not sure if that was too fuzzy, but this story of the hero was one that I recall. And
just if you look at architecture, you can see that, like if you look at old time architecture and modern, it's at the level that they did, like Jugend in Helsinki, And then you watch the newer ones, which just look like CAD drawings, like the newer architecture. You can just see that there's something in the old stuff that was based on something even older, and something that's been like given, how would you say, passed on forward, some knowledge. And it has a lot of more depth than just, how would you say, just looking at the world right now and using your tools. If you don't take some portion of the old, like putting a bit of soy sauce in your food, which is fermented and a bit old, it brings depth to it. So in the same way, like these old stories bring that depth to our discussion and our thinking.
Yeah,
like soy sauce.
Nice way to put it. They have some archetypical wisdom, like, because human lives are still human lives. We're born. We have this some sort of rite of passage into adulthood. We are adults. We get old and we die. And this hasn't changed. This is still the same, even though we have all this technology around us. So the rites of passage are the same, and the way the world works is the same. We just kind of maybe forget it because we're so surrounded by technology that we for example, rites of passage are not very prevalent today. Religious, like these ceremonies of sorts, they are not so, at least in my world, not very important. They're kind of dropped out. But one good thing that Terence McKenna taught me is he had this one talk about where he essentially said, like, don't worry. It's to worry is kind of pretentious, because if you worry, you basically assume that you could think out every scenario that could go wrong, and you worry because you're gonna think all them through, and you're gonna be sure that you're not gonna make a mistake. But that's not possible. The world is too dynamic and complex to ever understand like every option available and what's gonna happen in the end. Nobody knows. So why worry? It's, hey, rather do than worry. Worry is like unnecessary energy taken away from where you could do something else. That was some at least for me, profound insight. Because it's a waste of time to worry.
Perfekt nu senaste tiden. Jag vet, jag har någon gång varit på inspelningar och bara fuck up det sådär. Oh, that take was perfect. Och sen gör jag...
Whoops. You mean the audio fuck up or the clap fuck up?
Audio. Det var jag som fuck up.
Damn.
So.
How does it feel, your first podcast session?
It's been good.
I agree.
How have you liked it? Was it what you thought it was gonna be?
Pretty much. I think it's different when you have some alcohol involved. Mm-hmm. Definitely, you get you get some different types of discussion, but that's fine. Today is celebration day.
Yes, chin chin.
Chin chin. As many days.
If you could, when we talked about stories, like use one story to describe your life right now. Like, are you a hero? Are you a wise guy? Not a wise guy, but like
a wise guy.
A wizard, or what kind of a character are you right now in your life?
Interesting question. Like, in a story sense, I would probably choose. Well, since I've read Lord of the Rings recently, or I'm rereading them at the moment, I'd probably place myself as some sort of Faramir. He's not the main character in the book, but he's really probably the wisest human there in the book, after Aragorn. So it's like he's secondary but about to reach his potential. That's where I feel I am currently. So
you're gonna be killed soon, or wasn't Faramir the one who was killed?
Faramir lives on. He lives on and marries Eowyn.
Oh, okay.
He's the brother of Boromir.
Ah,
Faramir, the guy. He doesn't get so much screen time, but in the books he gets a lot of action in the books, and he's described as this quite amazing dude actually.
Freudian slip. No.
I look up to the guy. How much you can look up to. But it's interesting now that I'm rereading this Lord of the Rings books, how kind of in a way they seem boring, like orcs, elves, like a ring that makes you invisible. It's what's the deal? Because everybody's doing it right now. It's like orcs and elves. That's normal stuff in Fantasyland. But Tolkien was the first guy to like invent this sort of stuff, and back in the day it was like totally innovative. So it's just interesting to me that something that's so brilliant can become, in a way, it becomes the norm, and by becoming the norm it becomes, well, less brilliant, because it was brilliant back in the day, but it's not like quite as brilliant anymore because people have copied it. Probably the same with music or filmmaking. Like once somebody makes a great piece of classical music, then everybody copies them, and it's not so original anymore. But it was original, it was brilliant. It's cool.
I guess he mixed also from Finnish history or Finnish mythology. Some ideas did. And different mythologies. So once again, returning to the subject of old stories, he like was able to find something in them and then make.
Yes.
I don't know how he did it, but he actually, there was a book I heard about which was called Poetic Diction, which I heard is supposed to be good.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's good. But it was, I think that was the name of the book. I could look it up, but something that Tolkien also used and read to understand
it's
kind of how you write meaning and how you compress characters and how you find the gist of things.
Indeed, some stories are better than others. Like they hit closer to the heart, and they don't have to be complex. They can be quite simple. Like there's an adventure, there's the hero, there's the old man that teaches the hero to something, and he goes on, he defies everything, and then he makes it home. That makes a good story, and it's great. I think Star Wars also was like written on I can't recall what story, but it's based on this basic storytelling that works well. It hits home with people because we like it.
Yeah, we actually in school, when we studied storytelling, we had to learn about this, that there's the usual structure of a story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was an artist named Vincent Desiderio who said that when students try to paint theory, so they have an idea in theory, like they make a theoretical idea and then they paint it, it kind of doesn't work. Like if you try to write a story from the idea of like you're using the basic story arc and writing from that something, it's shallow, it doesn't have anything to it. You can use it to guide yourself when you don't know what to do, but to actually make something worth something, you kind of have to live it, and it has to come out from yourself, and then in some cases you can use this stuff to like, how would you say it, like
guide your writing.
Yeah, guide it. Stuff like that. I don't remember how this connects to all of this, but it seemed relevant.
What I read about at least Star Wars is that it's pretty much based upon on a normal arc of a story arc. But of course you have to have some original elements. You can't just something has to be original to make it interesting. Now before we drink too much champagne, I'd like to ask you, Peik, if you had one message to say to people around the world, to our 5 listeners here of episode
5. We upgraded.
I can't say how many, but probably 5 would be my guess. Maybe at this point, I think it started at like 10, but the ones that have stayed with us this long, it has fallen down. So it's 5 now. Yeah, that would be my guess. Maybe I'm too modest. Anyway, what message, if you could, you don't have to, but what kind of message do you feel people should know? Something that you believe is important that should be known around.
It's quite hard to say a message when maybe I'm too young to say a real like message.
No,
with
you're
depth
not too
yet,
young. You're a man. You can say whatever you want.
A message.
Doesn't have to be one thing. It can be many. It can be a message that you have heard somebody say to you that really like stuck with you. Or it can be, I've given this some thought myself. So if you want to think, I can start.
No, actually I have an idea now.
Excellent.
That if you think that there's a perceiver of things, that you perceive things and you react to them in your life, you see, oh, she's doing this, I'm doing that, what should I do? I think there's also an element, at least for me, there has been of something where you see something that just doesn't have to do anything with anything. You think it's so abstract, like it's like your dreams or something like that don't stop watching when you're dreaming. I guess that's something that McKenna once talked about from The Alchemists.
Don't stop watching.
When you don't get, like, if you don't understand what's happening, don't stop watching and don't put it into a box of like it's.
Yeah.
How would you say? Like, if you don't lose sight of the unspeakable, don't lose sight of the things that you can't put words onto, and that kind of stuff.
Wow,
like,
you're getting mystical. I love it.
Yeah, of course, this leads always to magic, but don't lose that part. Like I remember when people got like to 18, 19, they said that Christmas doesn't have that Christmassy vibe anymore in their lives. And I think you should, don't lose sight of Christmas. Don't lose the magic. You kind of have to understand that Santa Claus isn't a guy, but you shouldn't lose Santa Claus as an idea and the feeling you had as a child, because then there's no sparkle anymore. Yeah. At least for me, and this is maybe the thing.
So this has to do with also everything you perceive, not just dreams, but also reality. Like have that childish naivety to things. Be a believer that you can make things happen, and you don't have to like fall in line, like everyone. Yeah, this can be. How do you say? This can be tolkat. This can be. You can see this in many ways. I like it. This is a good message. Don't stop perceiving things just because you don't understand them, and remember, keep your child alive.
That wasn't what I said. That was your thing.
But that was how I
Okay.
How it made sense in my mind. Is it at all close to what you said?
Yeah, kind of, but
keep your like inner child alive by being. Yeah,
I think there's a problem with if you call it the child now, because what you think of a child right now is a completely different thing that I was speaking about. Like when you were a child and you were seeing, like waiting for Santa Claus and having this awesome experience, you were a child then, but you were also a human just like you're now, and you're still able to perceive that same feeling that you had back then. And don't lose sight of that, because then, I don't know, I think we're beating a dead horse right now.
No,
What was-
I like to get to the bottom of it. It's good to clarify. So basically, the feeling that there is more to this world than just what you know. There is magic. There is mysticism. There is. Yeah. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, don't lose sight of it.
Don't lose sight of it. Good message, Peik.
Thanks.
Sweet. Hey.
And you had something
Preach.
prepared also. Interested to hear.
No, I have. Well, I mentioned it already. It was McKenna. Just don't worry. Stop worrying. It's not worthwhile to worry. It takes up too much energy, and you don't know what's gonna happen anyway. People are gonna say what they're gonna say. They're gonna think what they're gonna think. But don't worry. Rather do. Put your energy into doing rather than worrying. That would be like my number one message. Don't worry. Secondary, I would say, like, don't worry is in so many aspects of life. It comes up. Like, should I worry about what I'm saying to my partner now, or should I worry about my job relation or studies? Don't worry. Just do your best and let it be. Secondary, what also comes up a lot. I will send a lot of messages out now. I want to
This
send.
is partially Mealy, partially the champagne.
yeah, it's both speaking. But like courage, that's another thing that shows up in every avenue of life. Courage to do. Courage. Do I have the courage to say the truth to my partner? Say, do I have the courage to study the arts, what I really want to study? I have the courage to you need courage to do stuff. And in relation to this, like, many think that I'm not a courageous person, or I'm the kind of person that likes to worry. I always worry a lot. Well, I think no. I think, like, as Aristotle said, we become what we do. Not like we are not by nature some way. Of course, we have our traits. Some are a bit witty, some are a bit, but we become that what we do often. That what is our kind of routine. So we become less worrisome by worrying less. And we become more courageous by doing courageous acts. So anything can change. And by doing things, you can change what you perceive yourself to be. This like message is has immense strength, at least for me, in it. And just worrying and courage are the ones that come to the top of my mind, that are important for me, at least, and I think for many other people also. So yeah, and change by doing. I'll go more into depth in another episode in this Aristotle's thinking, because I think it's very very lucid thoughts. I need to be more lucid to pronounce them. But another thing I would like to discuss is social media. You said you have your Instagram account. How much are you on social media, Peik?
Oh, I don't know. Enough, at least.
At least. Do you watch YouTube?
Yeah,
How many hours a day?
a lot.
Me
But-
too, a lot. Like
but-
many hours,
but-
easily.
But I don't think saying that YouTube is bad, that it's bad to watch YouTube, I don't think that's true. I think we have to find good stuff, good videos. And like there's actually good stuff out there. And if you just find what you like, what you think is good, I don't think there's anything bad in watching a lot of YouTube. Like I've learned so much from that actually isn't in any books. And then there's book recommendations, and that leads you on another path. So it's like a mixture of a book and of a discussion forum.
I agreed. I say.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This was just my thinking. That
social medias can be great, like YouTube. It's a way of learning stuff.
Yeah.
You have books, you have YouTube, you have audio, you have discussion. You can learn from discussion. But the insidious thing about social medias is that their simple business model is just to keep you hooked. Like keep you watching as long as possible, so you can gather data on what you're doing and show or sell that data to advertisers. And how well they're able to, well, by using algorithms, show stuff that we like. Like I like seeing the stuff that is on my Facebook feed or my YouTube feed or my Instagram feed. And they know me so well that they get me to stay longer. And I think that this is like, for sure, like the tobacco of our time. Like back when tobacco, everyone smoked and nobody thought it was harmful. But today, everyone is on social media all the time, being distracted all the time. And it's harmful. You're not in flow if you're distracted all the time and you're watching your phone, or you're watching you're texting your own Instagram. No, you're not in flow. You're not in the moment. That's like a warning sign. I think more people should be aware of. But there is also the potential good side of YouTube, like teaching and amazing stuff. You can see the best performers from all over the world. They're like at the tip of your finger. Or I'm sure when you do 3D graphics, you look up tutorials or some master on YouTube, and they can show you firsthand, this is how it's done. It's like, it's so good, and it also has this shadow side at the same time.
Yeah, I think if you get interested in the, maybe it's wrong to say the right stuff, but like good stuff, at least I found that YouTube gives me a lot of good recommendations sometimes, and a lot of bad. And what the hell?
It's the metro, or not the metro, but the Spora.
Ah, the camera is.
No, actually, it's like refocusing.
Yeah.
Focusing and refocusing.
I think we actually achieved flow now. The camera can't. It's too much to focus on.
Ooh. Interesting. Fascinating, actually.
Yeah, it's focusing.
How about you turn off the autofocus and turn it back on? It made this like clicking sound and started focusing and refocusing.
Yeah, our battery is quite low, but we can continue.
This is why it's called episode 0, ladies and gentlemen. This is the prototype episode. We're gonna have some technical difficulties. Yeah. We're gonna have some weird moments, but we learn along the way. And yeah, we still have some skumpa, thank God.
But if you think about the tobacco of the old times when nobody thought it was bad, if you lived the tobacco lifestyle to its fullest, and it did the bad things to you, but you were cool and you were the person, everything good that it gave. If you lived that to its fullest, maybe it's, if you actually lived it to its fullest, maybe it's worth all the bad stuff. in a way.
This is a pretty radical idea, Peik.
I think it is, but
It
I
was
think
worth
it's true
smoking because you were so fucking cool.
Also. Yeah, exactly.
Also, I've never
We're
thought about
still
it.
doing it.
Maybe.
But then you have to be actually like 100% into it.
Okay. Yeah. I like the thought.
Like if you get lung cancer just from smoking at some parties, maybe it's not worth it. But if you're like as a Churchill and you're smoking all the time and being cool, maybe it was okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know.
Yeah, if you do it well enough, then it's worth.
Yeah.
But I think most of the people don't do it. They don't do it all in. They're like just addicted because they're addicted. They scroll through random. There's so much random videos on YouTube, so much random stuff on an Instagram feed. Most people don't like make it really cool. It could be really fucking awesome and cool, but there's like that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's cool, and then 80% is shit.
I'm kind of, I understand what you mean, and I'm samaa mieltä. I think the same. Agree, but also it's more interesting if there's some nuance to this. So maybe it's, maybe it's still in its early stage, and it's becoming something that everybody can kind of. You can find. It helps you to find your thing. It gives you suggestions on your path to finding what you actually like, which right now might be a lot of cat videos and stuff like that. But hopefully it will someday be like I don't know. I found a lot of really good stuff that's never been in books, and because when you have when you have somebody looking into the camera and speaking, like there's a difference when you hear somebody's voice and you can see them and they can speak with all of their originality than writing a book, because then they have to think how do a good person, how do you write correctly, and how do you communicate clearly. And when you're just raw in your video format, you can actually achieve something much more deeper. So in some sense, I think videos have more depth than the written language, but I don't know.
Like currently, I think there is more depth in the written language just because the sheer volume of books that have been written by insanely wise people, they're there. And the amount of videos that have been created, they have been like only for such a short while the technology has been available. But yes, 100%, a video that is edited well, it can be like concise, thought out, and you can have much more information than just text. You can have speech, you can have sound, and you can have video. You can there's more data to be transferred from a video. So I think for sure it's a more deeper level of knowledge. And to the topic about like making social media better, I think the way is first of all for regulation. States need to regulate what sort of hooking mechanisms that social media use. You can't be totally ruthless and have like this infinite scrolls with cat feeds. It's not good for anyone. It's just good to make money. It's not ethically or morally sane. I like this concept of nudging. Are you familiar with nudging? Like you give a nudge, a little push to someone in the right direction. So that's what I think is there's this great potential in the internet, in social media, and when people check our phones, we check our phones like what's the number? Is it like 100 times per day? More even. But and we look at our feed 100 times per day. We spend hours and hours, more than half of our waking hours, just consuming media. It could either just be hooking and making you need more, or you could nudge people in a positive direction. Because we have some sense of what would be actually positive for people to see. Maybe some knowledge about, well, how the human mind works. Maybe some knowledge about how social relationships works. Maybe some knowledge about, well, how technology works. Just nudging people in a better direction so they can make better decisions and hopefully live better lives, instead of just abusing people because keeping their eyes focused on a screen. There's great potential to do good also, is what I'm saying.
You could also think that you have to kind of earn the right to be like actually like getting the good stuff.
How do you mean?
Like just nudging the mass of people into the right direction. I mean, you can't, there's never a right direction. It's right today, and tomorrow it might be the wrong place. So you trying to nudge them somewhere is always going to be, like, at sometimes a good thing, and at sometimes a really, really, really bad thing. So trying to nudge people into different directions is maybe a bit of a naive idea.
Challenging. Yeah.
I'm of course, on some point, I understand what you mean, and I think the same as you do, but on some other, I'm not sure what I think about this, because, I mean, I don't know, at old times, maybe if you couldn't read, you couldn't get the text, so you were not, like, I remember I read in some comment section that it was something they talked about, arming the... I don't know, I'm going to leave this quote.
It's scary stuff once you say comment section. You never know what's going to come up next.
Yeah, but it's a good source of crazy things.
I avoid the comment section whenever possible.
But we were talking about something earlier here, about was social media good?
Nudging. I can add a thing about nudging. If, like, for sure there are... It's difficult to say, like, what's the correct direction to nudge in. But for sure there are some things that people will have use of. Today, tomorrow, 100 years from now, or 1,000 years from now. Say, like, meditation, calming yourself. Just knowing that you have this skill to take 10 calm breaths and you're resetting your mind. That you're always kind of fluctuating your mind. You can be, however mad you get, it's gonna pass. Nothing lasts. And this kind of nudging, for example, towards people realizing, hey, you can take 10 breaths of meditation and that's like, it will change your life. Just nudging people towards that one YouTube video would make the world a better place. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, like that's an example of one thing that's 99.9999% sure would make the world a better place. And that's just one way. I'm sure there are many other, like, topics and things that are because nudging is a way of kind of controlling behavior. We should be very careful, of course, when controlling behavior. But just going with the things that we're certain of that will help positively, those are the ones we should nudge towards. And at least we should not just, hook, addict. That's rough stuff.
It's a difficult discussion, because when we talk about the mass or like other people, it's like
keep on talking.
It's an abstract idea of other people, but it's not. There's only like other, just like we are one person. There's a lot of other one persons, a lot of individuals, and we see them as the mass, but actually there's not. There's a lot of individuals, and the mass and the individual are two different ideas.
I'm not sure if this audio is gonna mix, because now I reset the video and the audio is running still. So
Yeah, we'll figure it out in post.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut a bit of audio out, right? Because the video kind of like skipped into the future.
Ska vi pausa här?
No, actually, leave it on. We leave a black space in the video, and then the video comes back in when the audio has caught up.
It's number 0, so it's okay. But yeah, I just wanted to say that it's a different. There's only individuals when you are the one speaking. It's always like there's a lot of more depth in you than when you're speaking about the mass. So when, for example, I speak about the mass, or I think also you, I could say it's like an abstract idea. We're just building ideas. It's not like when I'm saying something, it's not this is the truth and this is one way of thinking. No, we're just throwing ideas and stuff.
Yeah, but that's how change is started, by ideas, by like fantasy ideas.
Yeah.
Everything is fantasy at some point, and then you have different fantasy scenarios, what you could do, and we pick one, and that becomes reality.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is idea stage for sure.
Yeah, like in art, always the question is this abstract form or symbol, or is this abstract idea representing truth? Or whatever you're trying to achieve. It might be a cylinder or a square or something. Is this actually representing what I'm looking at and what I'm trying to achieve? And then you're putting another abstract idea next to it. Now it's not anymore a question of is this new thing actually representing what I'm searching for and what I'm trying to achieve. It's in relation to the thing I put earlier onto the page. Do these together abstractly represent this thing, which gives it a whole new depth, because now it's just not the one thing you're creating in the moment, it's actually everything you've done before it.
You lost me. I didn't follow.
If you're making, for example, a human head, and you first of all you cut out the head from the background. Now this is an abstract shape.
From the background?
Yeah, if I look at you from here,
so the back
and I
side.
see you, and there's the background of the kitchen behind you, and then there's your face.
Yeah.
Now I might cut out your face from the background.
Okay.
This is one shape.
Yeah.
Does this represent what I'm looking at? If the answer is yes, I can continue. Now what I'm looking at is how do I build your head from different shapes? So how is your cheekbones? What's the form of your cheekbones? What's the form of your eyelids? What's the form of this? Does this represent you? Maybe yes, but does it represent your head in relationship to the cutout head from the background I already made earlier? If these separately describe you but not together, then it's not working. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, okay, now I'm getting it.
And if I'm looking at you, maybe the side which is in shade might fade out into the background. Now suddenly that part is not, it's simultaneously a part of the background and you, because it's the same value. They might both be dark. Like if I'm standing in darkness and you can only see one part of my head because there's a lamp on it, the other part might fade into background. It's still there, you know it's there, but it's actually faded in. So it has to be simultaneously a part of both things, and you have to perceive this and construct it. And this is just 2 steps. Now take art 50 steps more forward. Now we have the shape of your head, we have it cut out, we have the color of your blouse, we have your hair, we have everything in. Now is your eyes matching what I'm seeing right now in your eyes, and is it to the whole? And my painting might have changed from the reality that I'm looking at in you.
Yeah.
How do these all things match, and how do I get it right? That's like, I know that I'm the...
What is it?
I don't know, you have to find it out in every painting. It's always a new challenge. And also when you're making ideas, it's the same thing.
Interesting job.
You might be using the right ideas and the right quotes and the right data, but does it make a good whole? And does it somehow map onto reality? That's like, fucking difficult.
Pretty meta thinking right there. Man, cool. Do you think, Peik, that there is like some, when we talk about art, that there is some ultimate truth in beauty. Like a painting is beautiful because it somehow represents some eternal beauty that we have within us as human beings. Or that Mozart's music is beautiful because it hits some eternal beauty
Yes.
note, and something that we the rest of us, that's hard to perceive. Do you believe in this sort of eternal beauty?
Yes, I do think that Mozart is really, it's hitting that thing, but I think Wagner is more interesting than Mozart. So there's still progress.
Welcome back to the celebration of episode 0 of Inflow. We have another guest appearance here, Victor.
Yeah, how's it going?
Thanks for joining us. We had Conrad here for a brief moment, but I'm glad we could make more of a party and having another.
You have had a lot of people here today, right?
Yeah, well, you're the fourth, and
Fourth today. Right.
well, 1, 2, 3, 4, so not so many.
Right.
More than I hope to be, but a brief introduction. Victor is a great friend of mine, and I'm well. First question would be, what did you eat for breakfast today?
Well, I didn't eat breakfast. I just studied until like 8 o'clock in the evening. Then I ate beef and broccoli with soya.
Wait a minute, you didn't eat anything?
All. And then after that I drank some vodka, and now I'm here. You know?
Alright, so you didn't eat anything before 8 p.m.
No, that's right.
Why not?
Well, I had to study, you know.
But
didn't get hungry.
Really?
No.
This is actually something I've been wanting to ask you for a long time, because how do you have the drive, the energy to study all the time? Where do you get it?
Well, no.
What is it?
What the fuck? I'm not studying all the time.
No,
that's
but I mean energy all the time. No, not studying, but energy for whatever.
No, I mean just like you can study, like if you have lots of energy, you can study something in like 20 minutes, and if you have less of energy, you can study it in 30 minutes, you know. It doesn't matter, you know. If you have 1 hour of homework, you can do that in 40 minutes or in 1 hour. It doesn't matter, you know. It's 20 minutes. What's the difference? I mean, even if I would have more of a energy level, you know, it wouldn't help me really in the long run, right?
Well, in the long run, if you can do it every day, something you do get more benefits. You
Yeah,
get to
sure. But, you know, I just gotta pass my courses, and that's it. It doesn't matter if I do homework in 30 minutes or 20 minutes.
Okay, well,
it's just a minuscule difference.
Fair enough. I actually just asked this question because we were roommates for such a long time, and I got to see you in action for like 2 to 3 years almost. We lived together, and you
Somewhere
like
there between.
somewhere in there between it, and like I don't know anyone who can go without sleep or eating as you do and still like function.
No, I eat a lot.
But
calories.
But rarely.
Yeah, but I don't have to like spread it out during the day. I can eat it all at once, you know. And regarding sleep, it's just insomnia, you know. You get used to it. I've had it all my life, so it's easy. Yeah,
that's tough. Sometimes I can't sleep, but thank God it's not insomnia. What do you usually do in the evenings, during the night? What's your go-to thing?
Well, I made some money betting at, you know, Counter-Strike. Since I'm a fan of it, I watch the games and I usually win when I bet. Otherwise, I do homework or just watch some movie, you know, that isn't too action-oriented nor too romantic-oriented, so that we can watch it together with my girlfriend, you know. Or, you know,
yeah,
whatever.
We just discussed with Peik, like YouTube and the positive sides of YouTube, how much great information there is, how much positivity you can get from it, how much you can learn, and also how addictive it can be. How much do you watch YouTube?
I don't have an antenna cable, so I mainly watch YouTube. Yeah, I never watch Netflix. No. No, it's on YouTube actually. So yeah, 100%.
100% YouTube. Yeah, that's like we said. We also like we started with social media, and how that it's kind of insidiously taking. People are, I think, less in flow, less in the moment, because we're all the time distracted by different social medias, be it Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever. And we can't realize with Peik that YouTube is our big flaw. And it seems like so with you. YouTube is
your big flaw. What do you call it, flaw?
Yeah. Well, not a flaw, but more of like a social media addiction.
Well, no.
No.
For me, it's almost an addiction.
Well, because like in the 80s and the 90s and so forth, people watched TV.
Yeah.
Which was commercialized, and you know, it's really fucking shit, you know, and it hasn't gotten better at all. And YouTube, then again, you can just, I mean, the Google algorithms are very good for choosing the best content just for you.
Yeah.
So I mean, why wouldn't that be better than just randomly scrambling through channels on the TV?
That's what I mean. It's like it's too good in a sense.
But what do you mean? It's not too good. No. I never feel like I would be addicted to something, you know, like I'd be addicted to like snooze at some point, you know, like have to get it, like have to go on YouTube. It's just it's the best kind of entertainment, you know. I know, no, not the best kind, you know, just the best basic kind of entertainment. I know.
Okay, let me rephrase it. Like I use the word insidious. Like it sneaks up on you. It's not like a full-blown addiction. Like I get withdrawal symptoms if I don't get on YouTube. But it's more like my go-to dopamine rush. If I'm bored, I think, and I'm at home, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna play a game or I'm gonna watch YouTube. This is like the options.
Yeah.
And it's when I do get on YouTube, it's very good at keeping me on YouTube.
Yeah.
The algorithm is like.
But
it works
aren't
very
all
well.
the games the same?
Yeah, but not as much. They're more engaging, I think. That's a difference.
Yeah.
I think games are better for you than just watching.
Well,
YouTube videos.
I agree on that point. Yeah.
That's an interesting topic as well, actually, like gaming, and it's.
Yeah, you have to interact with it all the time.
Yeah,
When
you have to think more.
In YouTube, you can put it on 2 times speed and just like browse through shit. When again in gaming, you always have to play against real players and, you know, have to conquer people. Like, for real.
We were at the same party with Peik. It was our Donnie's birthday party a few weeks back, and me and Victor, we were gonna play in this Counter-Strike tournament of Aalto's Counter-Strike tournament, and I had to leave early from the party because I was like, I'm not gonna drink tonight. We're gonna play tomorrow, so I'm not gonna. I left at like 12, and then many people said like, yeah, okay, what do you play? Like Counter-Strike. And once they realized it's violent, it's like with guns and you shoot people, they got this conception that, wow, I didn't think you were this like violent guy.
Yeah,
like, what do you think about this violence in it? And this is like a total misconception about the game itself. It's not about the violence.
No,
not at all.
You can think about it like paintball, whatever.
Yes.
You just like when you shoot someone, they're dead. They have to defend themselves somehow with different methods. In order just to not get shot, you know, nobody's dead, just game. It's and then all the strategy built around it, you know.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's like saying that the mechanism of hunting would be wrong. That thing that if you're hunting food for yourself, if you're like gaming, I don't think you're gaming because you're aggressive. You're just gaming because it's like a thing you like to do, and
it's
engaging. Like you do it together, and it's engaging.
Not just
and you're not
engaging.
harming anybody.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Why would it be
You're
wrong?
good doing it together, And another point is just that you're wrecking people, someone else, that's trying to shoot you, and you're shooting him. So, I mean, it's not about who's killing whom, it's about who's just winning whom in a certain piece of the game,
Yeah, it's a game.
Both of the parties know it's a game. They just have to, like, outsmart each other.
Yeah.
It's nothing else than that.
Yeah, it's like if you would go to, it's not the same as a chess tournament. Maybe it's different, but if you would think that, you're just aggressive because you want to like eat the other guy's pawns, what the hell?
But
that's not.
That's
it's not
true,
an
that's
aggressive
true.
thing, I think.
Why would be aggressive to eat someone's horse?
Yeah.
I mean that's Midwest.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can get it in every market here in Finland.
This is the reason I brought it up, because these were young people our age. Like, okay, most of them were girls in this case, but I'm sure some guys think also similar thoughts. This is maybe my parents, I could forgive them if they think like this is violent and the terrorists and bombs. But our age, this kind of huge misconception about what the majority of young people are
9/11
doing.
happened when we were 6 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most receptive period of your life for like just what brings up your way of thinking.
Really? 6 years old?
No. Yeah, actually, that's 3 to 6 years old. But we were 6 years old.
In what way?
It just when you like remember the most fundamental parts of reality and what's wrong and what's right, And if we all thought that there were terrorists attacking the U.S. trade centers, it might have affected us somehow.
So you're saying if there's a big injustice done towards you when you're 4 years old, this will affect your look upon life more than if it was done when you're 8 years old.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
I haven't heard this before. Interesting.
Sure.
Where did you hear it?
Very good. Must have read it in an article or something. Exactly where is a hard question. Which source?
Yeah,
but I can bring it up, of course.
People can Google it themselves.
But in I don't remember, was it the 17th century or 15th? But people who played with cards, they told that it was the game of the devil. It was wrong, and we were like doing something wrong, and it was
gambling.
We're trying to gamble and everything. I think this is just the same pattern. Once again, they used to put recipes on game cards, so people would get something good out of playing like card games and stuff. And I think it's the same thing with esports today.
True. By the way, talking about the tournament we attended, we won the tournament.
Yeah.
All the champions. Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah, we didn't mention that yet.
Yeah.
But in this tangent of esports, I was actually hoping to get you, Victor, on a separate episode. We can talk about it now. What do you think about the future of esport? What is the limit? Think like Olympic Games sort of thing. Think football. Will it reach? Where will it go?
Well, esports contains a lot of games.
Agreed.
Yeah, but let's say FPS games, that's kind of real life. You can think of it as you being in the SWAT team or something. You have your teammates, you got your limited information, and then you have to like make the best decisions in order to defuse the bomb in this case. But so I mean, I think that the maps can be remade and make everything so competitive that you can compete at it. I think, is there a sport in the Olympic Games that doesn't have any physical,
maybe
action at all?
shooting?
Yeah, but you gotta control your heart rate in shooting.
It's a bit physical.
But
you gotta control your heart rate in esports.
That's right. But I think it has got to do with just the number of viewers and just the interest. If
that's what
everyone
I'm looking for.
watches esports, then it's gonna be an event in the Olympic Games.
Agreed.
And that's it. But it's gonna be.
But is it gonna be like the arcade games of the 80s? Like it was a huge hype,
Yeah.
and then it died off.
No,
I don't think so.
I think like, yeah, I just think like, I don't know if it's gonna be Counter-Strike or some other FPS game, or actually I think it's more gonna be like some kind of a StarCraft 2 game. It's gonna be like the best esport game in like 10 years. You know, you just make a very, very complex game with 2 players opposing each other. That, you know, you can't make a computer win a real player in that. You know, a game like that would be cool. So basically, like in World of Warcraft right now, you can just make an basically infinite number of different like combination of species in the game and all their skills combined, how they react to each other. You know, nobody knows what's the best way of fighting in World of Warcraft. So
well, there are a lot of good bets, I think.
Yeah, they are the best, of course. Like, of course, but then you can find roots behind that. But then again, a tactical game like StarCraft, which would be made more like it's not about APM, you know, it's more about tactical thinking, and that could be an Olympic Games someday.
But yes, I think so.
Because Olympic Games are usually one-on-one tournaments. It's not a team oriented.
That actually. Why the fuck? I haven't
I mean, there is football, you know, but otherwise it's just, you know, one-person game. So that's why I think that if we're talking about Olympic Games, it's gonna be more like a tactical game, or a strategical game, one-on-one game that's gonna be in the Olympic Games.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Olympic Games, aren't there like football Olympics?
Yeah, there is a lot of to tennis and football and rowing where there are like 5 people and
there's such random sports.
But anyway, it's still. I would assume that the majority of sports are like just one-person games.
Yeah. Well, just assuming like that games are evolving at the number of players, I say, like a little 1% each year, it's gonna reach a breaking point when there's too much viewers, simply put. So they have to put it on. People will be disappointed if they don't put it on the world stage.
Or then again, nobody starts caring about the Olympic Games. Everybody starts caring about something else, like the ESL 1 Pro Games or something. You know, it doesn't have to be the Olympic Flame that is run by all of my staff from Counter-Strike Source, as a Counter-Strike Go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know.
There's another question that I asked Peik earlier. That if you had any message you could put out to people, what message would that be? To the now it's probably like 2 people listening at this point. We've been going on for so long. To those 2 people listening, what would you like to say? It doesn't have to be one thing.
Don't work Friday nights. Don't work on the weekend.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
And you know, don't work too much. Just try to get the highest rate of salary per hour, not the highest salary. That's it.
Isn't that the highest salary though?
No.
What's the difference?
You can like work for 8 hours a week, you know.
Yeah,
and get a lower salary per hour.
I understand.
But then again, you can work for 6 hours a week and get the same salary. But that's not as nice, you know.
That's a good message. I like.
Well, that was fast. It came from, you know, from the glass.
Had you thought that before? This was a new thought.
No, well, I don't know. I don't have new thoughts. I just thought on what I've thought before. It stacks up.
So it was an old thought.
No, it wasn't an old thought. It was a combination of a stack of thoughts.
Yeah, very, very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
I like. Good advice, sir. Good advice.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers.
Cheers on that.
Episode 0. Yeah. And please do give feedback. We're gonna iterations. That's the point of this podcast. I'm not gonna do the same thing over and over again.
What? I thought we were gonna get drunk once a week now.
No. This is the first episode is a party because it's worth celebrating.
No.
Then
You could have a new concept, you know. You start with the sober talk about stuff. Then, you know, gradually it becomes more and more all the sober stuff. But it still has the same, like, meaning in it.
It still will be flow as a compass, searching interesting topics to talk about that I feel
yeah,
are...
why can't you first talk about it sober?
Yeah.
And then gradually jump over to more like a state of that
different
contains
mindset.
feelings, you know, a different mindset with more feelings and, you know, when you're drunk, you know.
You mean
how would you describe being drunk, you know?
more
just
feelings?
More just more of everything.
What drunk also it kind of dulls the senses, but it also opens you up for new avenues of feelings.
Yeah, it opens you up. That's what.
But what I said to Peik earlier was that my aim is that any guest can do whatever the fuck they want. They can drink, they can smoke, they can. Well, I don't care. As long whatever floats your boat.
But the Finnish government cares.
Yeah, but that's the Finnish government. We're just having fun here, and I'm not gonna say specific words that will put us in trouble. But still, the guests are able to do what they want. But I'm aiming to be sober as a goat, just caffeine, the most episodes, so it doesn't become a farce.
Let's see about that.
Cause I believe that.
I mean,
Yeah, I know.
like 3 drinks or something.
Yes, sometimes sure.
That's the spot.
It depends on the guest and on the situation, but for the most part, I'm gonna be sober as a goat.
But you're right.
I can see your horns just growing out.
That's why goat cheese is so sour.
I haven't tasted.
Because they're sober as fuck.
They don't have one drink.
No,
Their entire lives.
Fucking sober. They're fucking sour all the time, you know.
But to be honest, I can be so what do you say, sour, sober as well. I can be quite sweet when I'm sober.
No,
to be honest,
you can be non-sober. What did you say? All right, yes, I can be non-sober as well.
I said non-sour. I can be sweet.
Right.
So that's the main point. That depending on the situation, I will do what I want. But my primary point is the guests can do whatever the fuck.
So we can just
Alright.
go nuts. You know?
Yeah.
Mormon 1 week, the next one.
But if that's your concept, then you got then you gotta have the things to put this conversation forward. You know?
Yeah. The main concept you can put say your opinion about
I'm
it.
just
Yeah, your guest is using, as I said, flow as a compass to find interesting subjects.
okay. So
what do you think
what
about
are we
this?
talking about right now? Like, is it just we were talking about school and then, you know, that's boring. That didn't bring the flow within me. So then we talked about like
esports was flow.
Esports was flow and machine learning a little bit.
Then the whole goat thing was kind of flowy.
Yeah, goats are nice.
But
I mean, why are we farming goats? Why isn't there goat flesh fucking hamburgers in McDonald's?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the fucking thing.
Some guy told me that goose. And then what was it? What the fuck was it? Goose flesh is really good.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's nice. Let me check.
Yeah, no, you have to check that. I've tasted that a lot. It's fucking good. And swan, that's the best.
Strutsin liha.
Good. I mean, in China, they eat all the swan. They have swan farms. As they have dog farms, you know, with lots of like Labrador like breeds. But anyways, they have swan farms, so it's a little bit more expensive. But with Western money, that's okay. You get a breast piece of a swan for like €8 or something, and it tastes fucking good.
It's interesting because it's only our society that says this is the norm to eat beef, chicken, and whatever meat we eat. And in some other place, it's totally fine to eat fucking snakes and whatever. It's the same shit.
Yeah, well, it's not the same shit.
It's the same
in one way. Yeah, you have. I agree. But another point is that when our cattle and all our pigs and such are fed with shit, basically, like the worst kind of food you can give them. That means that they grow up with the worst kind of bacteria and infections inside them. So when we eat meat from them, we get the same infections inside us, and that's bad. When you eat just a vegan kind of protein, you never get these infections, and it has benefited lots of athletes actually.
Vegan diet?
No, not a vegan diet. Just the protein amount is the same, but you don't get it from animal sources. You get it from a vegan source, like beans or nuts or something, and that was new for me. There's so much infections, even though they use syringes just to fill pigs and such with antibiotics. But still, the flesh is so much worse. Yeah, still it's so much worse than just wild animal like elk and deer and such that you go and hunt in the wild. That flesh is good because they eat berries and
and they're not stacked like 10 elks in one square meter. But the bacteria spread in those farms.
That's true.
It's crazy how dirty they are.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point as well. I didn't think of that.
Have you seen this documentary on Netflix, like Explained, it's called? There's this short 20-minute episodes about different subjects. And one of them is like meat products. Another one is about programming. Another one was about diseases, how they spread. But for example, they saw the meat production is how insanely efficient we made it.
Yeah.
And we've kind of distanced ourselves from that. It's actually animals. We eat cow, but we call it beef. We eat pig, but we call it bacon. We have distances.
Pork, yeah.
Pork, actually.
Yeah, and we eat chicken and we call it poultry, and we eat lamb we call it mutton.
We don't think about this nastiness that we are actually committing all the time.
No. Well, nastiness.
It's pretty fucking nasty, man. Have you seen the videos?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's more about, if you think about you are what you eat, then you have to think about the things that you eat, what they eat, then you are that. And if they eat shit, then you are shit. But if you eat like elk who eat like berries and good stuff all the time, then that's good stuff.
But I think actually
that's what you should go for. But it's right. Everyone can't eat that. It doesn't work that way. Of course not.
The distinction you just talked about, the pork and what did you call it? Swine and pork. That there's a linguistic difference in them. That's because the people who produced and the people who ate were different. They had a different language and they were different people. So the people who were I heard from somewhere that
like the aristocrats who were rich.
Yes, exactly. They spoke a bit of a different language, and that's why also the names are different. Not because we've distanced ourselves from it.
Okay, fair enough. I can buy that.
Point, I guess, from the
I
main
can buy
point,
that.
So let's
Yeah, but then again, I think it just linguistically makes sense that you have a cow, that is the whole cow. Then there's lots of parts of it, different muscles which have different names, and then you have to call all of the different kinds of meat something else. Right? It's a subgroup of cow, which is beef, and a subgroup of that is there's lots of subgroups of that, of course. So it's not just about distancing oneself.
What do you guys think about going like flexitarian or vegan? Peik, I know Victor's stance.
No, you don't know my stance.
Have you changed? What do you think?
2 days ago.
What do you think? Do you eat more? Do you eat flesh?
Yes, I love it.
And you're not gonna stop?
Well, I don't eat it that much, but I mean, sometimes, yes. I think it's, if I don't eat it in a couple of, let's say 2 weeks, I start to feel, once I eat it, I get a lot of weird energy. It's like I met a new girl or something. I get this weird, like, how would you say, like energy.
Are you sure it's not placebo energy?
From the feeling that it's just feeling good eating the meat.
I don't think so, but I don't know. I mean, that's just what I
Fascinating. That you get like, okay, yeah, well.
No, it's like maybe it's something else, but it's just something I've noticed that once I eat it, I really do like it. It's something like I don't know. It's not for every day, but I think eggs is a good like main protein source from an animal, and milk.
Sure.
Eggs are amazing.
Eggs also lower your levels of testosterone compared to like the protein in soja.
Really?
By I think it's like 18%. So like 2 days ago I watched this documentary on Netflix called, I think it's The Game Changers.
Aalto produces Game Changer. That's a side note. It's like the slogan of Aalto University.
Okay, yeah, alright. So they were just talking about, like, they were showing the blood samples between people who were eating animal protein and fats that are, not bad fats, not saturated fats, but good kind of fats. And just the blood examples. And they proved that the clearer blood samples are, the more blood flow goes through the muscles, which is more performance. And they actually proved that when you're changing from a vegan protein-based diet for just 1 day, you can lift on a bench press up to 22% more. 22%
no fucking
more.
Way.
I didn't believe that.
No.
I can't believe that. But that's what they said in the fucking documentary.
Have you tried it out?
No, of course not.
We need to try it out.
No, but
we need to fucking try it out.
But we can. But I mean, they gotta have more than 2 people who had tried it out. In order to get the number.
They didn't say how many.
But we could, like, of course, notice the difference, right?
If they say it's 22%, it has to be at least 10.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. At least 10. That's exactly what I thought.
So it seems legit.
So 2 days before, we get the same amount of protein, lots of protein, not from eggs, not from milk, just from like bean and tofu, and there was a long list.
Yeah, just non-meat.
No, it's not that easy, because there are, what are they called again? Non-complete and complete amino acids.
Mm-hmm.
When all animal protein is complete. When again, not all animal, flora, vegetable protein is complete. So you gotta know the right ones.
You gotta find the right proteins from.
You gotta
greens.
know which vegetables to use.
I see.
In order for this experiment to work.
Interesting. So you skip do you sidestep the whole question of animals, what they feel, or what's good for the planet? You simply check what's good for your blood circulation.
But that was just new for me.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That was just new for me. Just regarding the health.
To me, it sounds like a win-win-win.
This is just a health aspect.
Yeah. And it's good for you, it's good for the planet, and it's good for the animals.
But I'm not going 100% for it. I think I'm going because my girlfriend is vegan or vegetarian.
Mine too.
So we're going for every dinner is going to be protein based, or like just protein based on vegetables, or not vegetables. What I call like beans and nuts and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then again, I don't give a fuck what I eat for lunch. You know, I think I give it a 50-50.
I like the word
instead of 100%.
flexitarian. You're gonna be a flexitarian.
No, I don't give a fuck. You know, I'm a not give a fuck-tarian. You know, I just do what's best for my health.
So you give a fuck about your health, Tarian.
But it's just more expensive, you know, to be a hardcore. You know, the athletes I was talking about earlier in the Netflix documentary. You know, they have the money, they have the chefs to do exactly. They can choose how much protein in what form. You know, everyone can do that. So you know, doing a 50-50 is kind of good.
I like this approach. It's simplistic and realistic at the same way.
Yeah.
And probably good for you.
It's probably good for me.
You're in the middle. I would like. Could you log in?
Oh shit.
So that everything is working.
Yeah. It's online.
Yes.
We're still live. I'm not sure. Did we check what the time was when we started?
No idea.
It should have been like, I think it's 20 past 10.
No, but when I talked with you, we had already started.
Yeah, this is maybe like a 4-hour podcast.
It's way too fucking long, dude.
No.
Can I get home anymore? What the fuck?
What's that? What is it?
What's the time?
Yeah, the time is 10 before 11.
Oh, but what the fuck? No. Then we'll be talking for like 1 hour 40 minutes.
No, I mean what me and Peik have been talking. We have been talking.
Oh, you too. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Come.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Just take a beer. I'm gonna go to the toilet.
Yes.
Be
We've
right
been
back.
doing this for many hours now, so.
Maybe we're gonna cut this last.
No, but I think it's interesting to to actually talk like this, because when you talk like this, you're somehow all thinking all the time that actually somebody's listening to you. So more than if you would just be speaking with your friends. So you're actually more there, and it's actually more like, how would you say?
Well, it depends on how engaged you are in the conversation, and this forces you to be engaged, of course, because you can't just be quiet and do nothing. So yeah, you're right. I agree on that point.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I've never done it before, so it's like.
Yeah, my girlfriend actually started a podcast.
Oh.
In Swedish.
Really?
Like 1 month ago.
I haven't heard about this one.
No.
What kind of a podcast is it?
Well, a girl podcast. They're talking about
Shout out to
girly things.
Tell us what the name is. So people can find it.
Wait again. It's called. No, I don't think they have posted it anywhere.
They have just recorded episodes.
Yeah, they have. They bought a microphone, and just have recorded 1 or 2 episodes. I don't think they have posted it anywhere.
All right.
Does it have a name? I don't think so.
I believe strongly in this, like, as I said, iteration, that you have to post things in order to know what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. So probably I'm gonna record like 2 episodes and then post them and see what people say, and then I'm gonna record more. I'm not gonna like keep it for myself. I liked what Peik said at the start about, was it Joe Rogan, when he started out, they were so high on their podcast that they didn't know what they were talking about. It was just about having fun.
The thing was that it
was just having fun.
No. Joe Rogan owned a volcano. This vaporizer that blows up this, however big you want it, pouch full of vaporized ganja.
We had one also.
We had one, and then it just.
We can tell the story afterwards.
It's another story. So well, anyway, so they always had to take 2 bowls of that, because it takes a while for it to hit you, like 30 minutes. And while they got on the set, I heard the same thing.
Yeah.
That's when they hit them. They started talking about things, and and in the middle of the sentence, they didn't know what they were talking about, and the same things happening over here.
Yeah, exactly.
a little bit.
Party.
Yeah.
And just the connections of who is talking to whom, it makes a very illustrated picture of that all the red people are talking to red people and all the blue people are talking to blue people.
Yeah, it's
So
insane.
there's no connections in between. There are no, of course there are connections, but it's very centralized.
Filter bubbles, I think it's called.
Okay.
It's
No,
like the
maybe.
phenomena.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The same with in Belgium, the French-speaking and the German-speaking people. And when you look at who is calling whom in the cellular network, it's just German people talking to Germans and French people talking to French people. And it's the same thing with American politics.
Yeah, I agree. It's America. It's in many ways a farce and disgusting to look at, but at the same time they have so much good stuff coming out of America. So much smart people doing interesting things. Like you can't.
They got the money and they got 330 million people, you know.
Yeah, and they're also quite like courageous in a way. Entrepreneurs, brave.
Would that be true per capita? I mean, for
Yeah,
real.
yeah.
If you think about like the Nordic countries per capita,
Mm.
you know, we got lots of Swedish companies, for example, that are really successful, like Spotify, just for example.
Yeah, I read some statistics on this, and the US has the most billionaires per capita,
Yeah.
but when you come look at the most millionaires per capita,
Mm.
that's where the Nordics shine, and England I think shines as well.
Yeah.
But the really interesting part was like social mobility. What's the chance if you're born in the lowest 20% of the population
That's nothing in Finland.
that you can rise to the top 20% of the population? In Finland and Sweden, it's very likely you can do it.
Yeah.
But in the States, it's like unlikely. And I think that's like a very good measure of a good society. If you can get the most competent people to get the most rewards.
Even simply put,
Yeah. Simple is better.
equality.
Equality of opportunity, yes.
Just equality.
But equality,
But equality
of outcome.
for everything. Like you have equal chances of becoming whatever you want.
Yeah,
Just equality for each and every person.
that's admirable.
Just equality.
And it's such a simple thing, but still apparently difficult to
Obtain. No.
obtain
But
in the States at least.
in the States, yeah, okay. Then again, you know, there's another thing I would like to talk about. That each and every party in Sweden, I mean, political party, is feministic. And by definition, feministic is that the women are suppressed, I mean, and they need to have something to get them
To help them,
closer to equalism, you know.
Yeah.
So it just that I don't like the word feminism. It's just equalism. Fine. What's the word feminism? What are we talking about here? What's feminism?
Why not equality? Yeah, instead.
Equalism or equality? Yeah.
Agreed.
What?
Feminism. They say that they are for equality. They want to get to equality.
I know, I understand.
But I think that we are pretty close to being equal.
But even if we would not be, we could still argue
Yeah.
that we are not close to equality. You don't have to call it like feminism. And then by like at some point like surpassing men with women, then you call it like feminists as one, and then we can become.
Did you read
equal.
this? The Perussuomalaisten, the Finnish Nationalist Party, the junior group of them, they released this
No, I didn't.
kind of publication that they are anti-feminism.
Yeah,
They are
actually,
anti-feminism.
actually, no, that's not just a unit. It's in the party itself.
They are.
In their values,
Yeah.
they say that they are for equalism.
And I posted this in this like discussion chat we have with some friends, and the reaction I got was that's like 2014 to be anti-feministic. it's
Yeah, it is.
yeah, it's been going on too long, this feminism movement.
Yeah, but then again, yeah, 2014, yeah, it was popular back then. But then again, it's the same thing, you know. If you watch a movie and you gotta give it a star between in a range of 1 to 5,
Yeah.
and it's got a 3.5 rating, and you think it's shit, you know, it's like 2 stars or something. It's
Max
okay
2
with
stars.
shit. So do you wanna like affect the number more by giving it 0 stars? Or do you wanna be like objective and honest and give it the 2 stars you wanna give it? I mean, I think there's a lot of people who just always, they watch a good movie, they give it 10 stars, or like, in this case 5 stars. Or if it's shit, they give it 0 stars. And then there's people who like really think. So it's the same thing here, you know.
Should you overreact just to gain the balance?
Yeah, because you think that your opinion is more important than the average, basically.
I like this way of thinking, that you should somehow overextend your effect to reach what you actually believe.
I didn't say that anyone should do that.
But
I'm just
like
observing that. I think, I'm not observing. I would assume that there are the 2 kinds of people that do 2 kinds of different things. One of which just thinks objectively and gives 2 stars, and the other one that just gives the lowest or the highest possible rating for the particular film.
But the scenario you described first, that they would give 0 stars, they think that it's 2 out of 5, but
Yeah.
they give 0 so that it reaches closest to the median or the
Average.
Yeah, the average is closer to 2.5.
Yeah,
I don't think many people do that. That's quite rare, I would think.
But if you think about IMDb ratings and you watch a movie that is rated 7.0 and it's shit, it's still not like 3.0 what you would give it. You know, if you're like after the movie you give a rating, then you give like 3 out of 10, right?
Yeah, most people wouldn't do it.
No, well, most people would do what?
Most people would give what they think it is, but few people would give like 0 just to affect the average. I think what we are saying is like an eccentric idea, which I like. I like this concept of affecting the average if you believe that your opinion is more precious than what others have given before.
But it's the same thing as in like in YouTube or something. I mean, if you like something or dislike something, that's the extremes, right? If you're in between, you do neither of them. So I mean, you either like something or dislike something.
Yeah.
And it's the extreme people who do this. And that's why like movies that get like 9.2 stars are in IMDb, that has a range of 1 to 10, are fucking good, because then there's also people who usually don't contribute to this rating system and still do contribute by giving it a 10, probably, I think, because they it's the first time they've done it, or maybe the first time, but they seldom do it, so they just give it a fucking high rating, because why would they otherwise do it? Go back to the computer and just give it a rating. That's why I think it's like all these rating systems are flawed in a very fundamental way. In that way, you know, because
in which way?
in the way that like movies are rated too high. Just talking about one way in particular, movies are rated too high. Why are all the good movies rated over 7.5? That's not logical. You know, I mean, if the average movie is 5.0, 5.0 is fucking shit, right?
Yeah, actually, true.
I would watch a movie that is 3, In real life, I mean with real ratings, if it would with a sci-fi movie or something that I like.
Yeah.
But a sci-fi movie that is 3, I would never fucking watch that.
Even 5, I would watch that.
Because I think that people wanna give positive feedback, and there's just more positive feedback. So the rating systems aren't mathematically correct at all.
You're proposing that people are more incentivized to give positive feedback rather than negative. They are more
And more negative. I mean, there are these kind of people that go there and don't give their honest opinion. They give the 0 because they hated the film or something. They hated some part of it or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. You can never trust the numbers in this case, unless it's a good movie. The problem is between like in IMDb between 3 and 7, because there is so much difference in how people perceive the movies. If there is an English movie with a prison break, you know, and you know there's just 40% of the people who like it, and the other 60% just dislike it a lot. That gives the movie a very bad rating, in average.
But so with this in mind, I think Ville, our mutual friend, has a good way of putting it, that you know that the rating system is biased and flawed.
Of course, yeah.
So he basically has this rule that all good movies have to have over 8 rating.
Yeah.
That's his like
no,
rule
but
of
then
thumb.
again, I've found movies beneath 8 that are fucking good.
They
It's
are,
just that
but as a rule of thumb, 8 is like it should be less than 8, because you know 5 is normal, and 6 or 7 is already better than average. That's good. But in his movie watching career, he has noticed that 8 is the minimum for a watchable movie.
Yeah, but Ville knows about directors and just actors, how they act in every scene, and he thinks about those aspects. When again, you can find a 6.0 movie where just the idea or the plot is so good that you don't care about the acting or the bad editing or something,
Yeah.
That's not the point for you, and it's therefore the rating is worse. Well, that's subjective. Yeah, right. Yeah, okay, that's your next point. It's subjective.
Guys, I'm gonna break you up right here, right now, because we've been going on for 4 fucking hours.
Yeah, okay.
It's episode 0. I think it's quite enough, and we're gonna continue the celebration of this beautiful moment in time. That is the first episode of Inflow. Thank you for listening, and thank you Victor, thank you Peik, thank you Konkku for being here. I had a good time. Any final comments?
Spag.
Spag.
Thanks, Mili.
Let's continue.